Smashing Patriarchy. I'm Michi Main, your hostess, your main girl. Today's episode is about economic abuse. So let's get smashing. Before we start smashing patriarchy, let's understand it. What is patriarchy? According to Wikipedia, patriarchy is a social system in which men hold primary power and predominate in roles of political leadership, moral authority, social privilege, and economic control. Today we're going to discuss economic abuse, or you can call it financial abuse, that is allowed to exist in a patriarchal society. So why is economic abuse so important to understanding patriarchy? One of the characteristics of patriarchy that has been established by sociologist Sylvia Walby, who has studied patriarchal cultures throughout time and all over the globe. One of the characteristics that she's discovered is predominant throughout patriarchal cultures is violence towards women. And in this country, we do have an epidemic of violence towards women. In fact, intimate partner violence, to be specific, affects at least 12 million Americans every year. And 92% of women report that domestic violence is the #1 concern of theirs. Now, an attribute of domestic violence is economic abuse. It is reported that 94 to 95% of all victims of domestic violence report a form of economic abuse being instituted against them. This is the power and control that men have over women, or if they're able to establish economic control over women, this is what allows them the power over them and gives them the ability to abuse them and keep them within the domestic violent relationship. So this is a very important component to domestic violence, which is rampant in our society, and we need to take a look at it. What is economic abuse? According to Wikipedia, economic abuse is a form of abuse which one intimate partner has control over the other partner's access to economic resources, which diminishes the victim's capacity to support him or herself and forces him or her to depend upon the perpetrator financially. Financial dependence is a means of control. This is what allows a situation of domestic violence to continue. Economic abuse can take many forms, including employment-related abuse, preventing the victim from accessing existing funds, coerced debt, and more. Remember, we were talking about this kind of abuse in the context of a patriarchy, and a patriarchal system is one in which it is easy for men to control the finances over women. So statistics show that up to 99% of all domestic violence victims experience economic abuse during the abusive relationship. And finances are most often cited as the biggest barrier to leaving an abusive relationship. Large numbers of survivors report that for economic reasons they felt they were forced to stay in the abusive relationship. Even previously successful professional women get cut off by their finances from an abuser. Women's ability to earn enough money to leave an abusive relationship and take care of our families is critical to the safety of women, to the safety of our children, and to the safety of society, to be real honest. Tactics include employment-related abuse. Employment-related abuse prevents the victim from earning money. It prevents the victim from earning money by preventing them from looking for a job, going to interviews, taking a job, prevents them from going to work. Abusers sabotage a victim's employment by interfering with the children or transportation. They sabotage their ability to earn money by interfering with their work performance through harassing activities such as frequent phone calls or unannounced visits. Also, abusers often demand that the victims quit his or her job. For example, a way that an abuser can interfere with the victim's work performance through children is by promising that they'll babysit every week. When babysit, I'll babysit for you. In other words, take care of his own children when he's supposed to at a time when she's supposed to be working. They can interfere with transportation. Make sure their car doesn't work when it's time for them to go. Call them while they're at work, demanding that they come back. There's something wrong with the kids. The kids really need you. Get back home. These are all examples of interfering with work. Coerced debt is another form of economic abuse. Coerced debt refers to the non-consensual, credit-related transactions in the context of an abusive relationship. Coerced debt destroys the victim's credit rating, making it difficult for him or her to obtain future loans, rent an apartment, or even get a job. Coerced debt includes applying for credit cards in your name, obtaining loans in your name and not paying them off, or opening other financial accounts in a victim's name. It includes forcing the victim to obtain loans themselves, forcing the victim to sign financial documents, use of threats or physical force to convince victims to make credit-related transactions, or refinancing a home mortgage or car loan themselves without the victim's knowledge. Financial bondage includes preventing the victim from accessing funds that even maybe they have contributed to themselves. They prevent the victim from accessing funds in an effort to make the victim codependent upon the perpetrator. These restrictive tactics include forcing the victim to give the abuser money, ATM cards, or credit cards. You know, like, I will keep your food stamp card or your debit card for you until you need it. Then when you need it, they make you give you a reason why you need your own card. And then they get it back from you when you get home. Other tactics of financial bondage include deciding when or how the victim can use cash, bank accounts, or credit cards, food stamp cards, or controlling access to any and all cards. Demanding that the lease or mortgage or utility or assets be in the abuser's name only. Okay, other tactics include intentionally withholding necessities such as food, clothing, shelter, personal hygiene products, and or medication so that you have to ask him for the money. So if he controls everything you buy, that gives him a great deal of control over you. He can also require justification for any money spent and punishing you with physical, sexual, or emotional abuse if you spend money on something that he doesn't approve of. Other forms of economic abuse include not including you in any of the financial decisions or making decisions for you or on your behalf. It could be not sharing and controlling access to financial information even. It's one thing just to keep your bank account away from you, but it's another thing to, hide all the letters and information from the bank so that you don't even know what your balance is or any information on what's going on with the mortgage or your utilities or your bank accounts. Financial abuse includes using the victim's checkbook, ATM card, or credit or debit cards without the victim's knowledge. Refusing to pay court-ordered child or spousal support when he or she can very well afford it. Stealing and or intentionally destroying the victim's belongings. Repeatedly filing frivolous but costly lawsuits. Yeah, this is done. And if you also have a patriarchal court system, then they'll fully allow this. Other forms of economic abuse include putting the bills in their names, not including your name on the bills, cutting off the utilities, cables to the router, not babysitting when it's your time to work. Unfortunately, the economic abuse does not always end when the relationship ends. If you have shared accounts, if you have shared assets, if he has access to a lawyer, the economic abuse can continue for years. So buckle up and hold on.